Hello and welcome to episode 5 of our playthrough of the 1984 campaign for Cold Waters. In the last episode, we managed to go ahead and sink an enemy landing force that was headed towards Oslo. Things got a bit spicy there. We took a torpedo, had to dodge several that were very close to us. It was a very, very eventful time. And then we managed to intercept a group of cruise missile submarines that were coming back from a successful patrol out in the Atlantic before they could replenish. This time, our next set of orders is to now intercept a wolf pack of cruise missile submarines that's going to attempt to break out into the North Atlantic. So presumably, now that we sunk the group that was coming from the Atlantic, we are now planning to intercept the group that was most likely going to replace them. So we'll go ahead and do our best to intercept. If we get a report, we can see we still have all of our MOS, all of our anti-ship missiles. We've only fired 2 torpedoes, 1 torpedo for each of the submarines we faced. So we'll go ahead and continue on course, head up to the Andoya region, and hopefully our recon flights can go out there and spot the subs. You can also see that there is a stationary group here outside of Murmansk. That stationary group's normally just there as a screen. It's to screen the harbor, prevent us from getting into it. And that group of submarines that just left port will actually be the group that we're looking for. So I'm just gonna patrol here around the coast, and there they are. Sonar's picked them up. Designated 1 Sierra 1 bearing 234. We'll go ahead, close to 20,000 yards, all hands man battle stations.
On sonar.
We'll go ahead immediately maneuver for 0 knots.
0 knots. Maneuvering aye. Con sonar. Make turns for 0 knots. Maneuvering aye.
Luckily, we are in the deep portion, not quite the shallows off the coast of Norway. But we have picked up Sierra 1. I am going to go ahead and fire a torpedo, but this time straight to our front. Weapons, fire tube 1 bearing 281.
Shoot tube 1. Aye, sir. Con sonar. Sierra 1 is cavitating.
Oh, I saw a launch already. Oh, it's a missile. Alright, missile set depth to 950 feet.
Make depth 950 feet, dive by.
Con sonar. Sierra 1 is classified as submerged submarine.
Looks like we're outside of the range of this torpedo sensor, and we're going to keep going down to stay out of range. This Charlie 2 is running for it, though. We'll go ahead and guide the torpedo in, however.
3.
Set the weapon sensor to active.
Con, fire control, weapon acquired.
Watch the torpedo go to target. This is definitely the target, and impact.
Lost contact. Sierra 1. Last bearing 245. Contact breaking up.
And Charlie 2 submarine sunk. However, there's likely other submarines out there. The last time we had a cruise missile submarine with a diesel electric escort, so we'll go ahead and put on active sonar, even though that probably is our objective.
Con sonar, switching to active search.
It actually, I guess, could have been traveling solo, but we're not picking anything up. So we'll go to back to passive.
Sonar, switching to passive search.
There's no weapons or vessels or anything nearby, so we'll go ahead and leave combat. And it turns out that was the only submarine out there. But we get news from Atlantic Fleet. Mission update, excellent job on intercepting and destroying this high priority target. New orders are coming on this downlink soon. Again, oh, this one actually might be new. Soviet subs spooked. Incidents involving attacks on transatlantic convoys by hostile submarines in and around the North Atlantic have rapidly diminished. I think the rest of this is all the same as we've read before, so you're more than welcome to read it, but we'll continue on. And our new orders, intelligence estimates that enemy Spetsnaz commandos will land from a submarine in the vicinity of Torshavn within the next week. We're ordered to intercept them. Primary objective is to locate and sink the enemy submarines transporting the Spetsnaz commandos. Secondary objective is to sink any escorting submarines if applicable. Torshavn is this series of islands here, which I believe are called the Faroe Islands. That actually might be here, but I'm pretty sure Torshavn is on the Faroe Islands. But it serves as one of the outposts for the SOSUS network that you can see stretches across the Denmark Strait and the Iceland-UK gap. So we definitely want to protect it. My guess would be they're trying to get there to destroy sensitive equipment and basically knock the SOSUS network there out, which we don't want because that's a big part of our defense, and that's probably the enemy submarines right there. Sonar's picked them up, designated 1 Sierra 1 at bearing 148. We will order the submarine to close to 20,000 yards, and once again, all hands to battle stations.
Cons.
Once again, make for 0
Turn
knots.
for 0 knots. Maneuvering aye.
Looks like we have a merchant vessel that's literally on top of us,
Maneuvering.
almost.
Making turns for 5 knots.
Oh, make turns for 0
Turns
knots.
for 0 knots. Maneuvering aye.
But there's nothing else for picking up, so unfortunately we're going to have to go active here.
Con sonar switching to active search.
We will check and see. There is a strong layer here, but my guess is the submarines are probably beneath the layer. I don't think they'd be... Oh,
Con sonar launch transient from Sierra 1.
we did get a ping off our left side, and another launch transit off our front. Alright, we're going to go ahead and set depth to 950 feet.
Make depth 950
Fire
feet, dive
tube
by.
1 bearing 279
Shoot 2-1. Aye, sir.
in the direction of one of those pings. We're going to have to wait and see if the other submarine pings again.
Con sonar new contact.
Go ahead,
bearing
steer.
276. Designated Sierra 2.
We can actually see the torpedo travel ahead.
950 feet, dive by.
It looks like we're chasing it pretty well. We do have the enemy torpedo above us, but I think we're outside of its cone of detection. It's going to travel over top of us. And I think the other torpedo is too. It's even shallower in the water. I also think both of these will miss the merchant ship.
Con sonar noisemaker bearing 265.
Go ahead and set the weapon to active.
Con sonar noisemaker bearing.
It's a Victor 1
264.
sub. This, I think's the cruise missile sub. I'm not sure entirely though. Either way, it's a hostile submarine, and we do want to go ahead and eliminate it.
Con sonar noisemaker bearing 263.
Oh, that's right. We're not looking for cruise missiles. Apologies. We're looking for Spetsnaz commandos. And those can kind of be taken on any boat. No specific one per se. We'll go ahead, get the torpedo turned around
Fire
here.
control, weapon acquired.
Weapon is acquired and impact.
Con sonar lost contact. Sierra
And that is
2,
the Victor
last
1
bearing
sunk.
264. Contact breaking up.
With that, they'll head down to the
Copy
bottom.
room, tube 1 ready.
We'll also go ahead, go back on
Con
active,
sonar,
see if we
switching
can't
to
find that
active
other
search.
sonar, or other submarine.
Con sonar new
We have
contact
picked it up.
bearing 221. Designated Sierra 3. Con sonar
It's a Foxtrot.
Sierra 3
We'll
is
launch
classified as
reloaded
submerged
tube 1 bearing
submarine.
221.
Shoot 2-1. Aye, sir.
And we'll go out to passive
Con
sonar.
Switch Con sonar. Launch transient from Sierra 3.
I think once again that torpedo's probably gonna go
Con, fire control, weapon acquired.
above us. But we'll go ahead and set our weapon sensor on our Mark 48 torpedo to active.
Con sonar. Noisemaker bearing.
Guide it back on the
219.
course so it doesn't lock onto the decoy. Actually, we're just gonna end up guiding it all the way in. Alright.
Sierra 3. Last bearing 218. Contact
Now we'll
breaking
let
up.
the other torpedo travel over us. We'll reload tube 1 with another Mark 48.
Torpedo room, tube 1 ready.
Tube 1 is loaded. But we'll just have to let the weapon pass and explode or get to a safe distance, which is not yet. There we go. And now we can leave combat. That'll be Everything done. And we get message from Atlantic Fleet. Excellent performance locating and eliminating enemy submarines transporting Spetsnaz commandos. Await further orders. Red sub sunk. The Pentagon today revealed that several Soviet submarines attempting an incursion near Torshavn, Faroe Islands, have been destroyed or driven off by coordinated efforts of NATO surface vessels, submarines, and aircraft. You're more than welcome to read the rest of this. Pause if you want to read it, but it is a news article we have seen before, so we will continue on. Here we go. New mission. Intelligence reports suggest that due to bad weather for the next 7 days, Soviet naval air assets will be grounded in the area of Arkhangelsk. This creates a tactical window of opportunity which we are to exploit. We have to plot a course within 100 miles of Arkhangelsk in order to launch at least 8 Tomahawk land attack missiles at this target. And we're going to have to rearm from Holy Lock with 8 T-LAMs, which means we're immediately going to set course back for Holy Lock, and we are basically just going to replace our Tomahawk anti-ship missiles with Tomahawk land attack, the land attack variants, I should say. Unfortunately, this mission is probably the hardest of them all, and I'll explain why in a moment, but for us, this now marks 22 days at war with 9 missions accomplished. The only things that have really changed here is our submarines sunk. We've added a couple more submarines, bringing our total vessels up to 40. With those additional tonnage, that brings us up to 229,700 total tonnage sunk. But we will rearm. We have to unload all the anti-ship missiles and load the land attack variants. But we do have news while we are in harbor. This is the 26th of December 1984. Ground gained in West Germany. Large parts of West Germany are now back in NATO hands as a strong push by Allied troops forces the Soviet army increasingly into retreat. The Red Cross and Doctors Without Borders are now entering Bremen and Hamburg in an attempt to deliver supplies and set up emergency field hospitals. Overall combat initiative seems to be held by NATO. The situation in the Atlantic is currently in favor of the NATO navies, according to U.S. Navy spokespersons. So that's good. That means our ground troops in Europe are doing well, but we are going to have to continue loading these land attack missiles. I'll let you in on another thing. The minute we fire off these, you pretty much have to return home just due to low stocks. So I'm going to take 2 additional Moss and then load the rest up with torpedoes. The reason for that being we are again going to return home immediately after we do this mission. 26 hours have passed now. We'll go ahead and head out. Like I said, this is the hardest mission because we're going so deep into enemy territory, into Arkhangelsk, which I think is the main Soviet naval base, not Murmansk. Murmansk is a secondary location. But we essentially want to avoid recon flights like that, and the one that just came out of Arkhangelsk. And I may be butchering these enunciations too, who knows. But now I'm just going to head straight east, because they normally don't make overland flights in this direction. That satellite might have just picked us up though. We're going to go ahead and chill here in these waters, let that flight fly back, and now that all those flights are back on the way, now is when we will... Crap, we've been detected, which is not great. We're going to hide up over in here and actually go ahead and get in range of Arkhangelsk, but we do have a new sonar contact, designate Sierra 1 bearing 22. I don't know that this is our mission objective. This may be something that's come and seen us and is trying to intercept. Either way, we will close to 20,000 yards and all hands will man battle stations. I'm not seeing the port or a land launch zone nearby. This may well be an enemy group.
Make turns for 0 knots. Maneuvering eye.
And it looks like enemy submarines also. Submarine and a land vessel. So I believe this is an enemy submarine coming to intercept us and have a look. We'll see what it is, though. Not a Foxtrot. Looks like this is probably a Romeo.
Sierra 1 is classified as submerged submarine.
So we'll fire 2-1 bearing 325.
2-1. Aye, sir.
Con sonar, launch transient from Sierra 1.
And we get immediate launch transients, which is not great, because those torpedoes are headed to us. But now we do something a little crazy. We'll move the torpedo over, set it to active, and we're actually going to set course directly for the torpedoes.
Right 0, 2, 1.
And make turns for 15 knots.
Turns for 1, 5 knots. Maneuvering aye.
Now the reason for this...
Con,
oh,
helm, steady
never
course.
mind. So now what we're going to do is set turns for 0, because I didn't think they'd activate that early.
0
We'll set
knots.
ballast to 0,
Maneuvering aye.
and we're just going to try to put this thing on the bottom.
Passing 500 feet.
We'll also go ahead and fire a Moss off to our right.
Shoot 2-4. Aye, sir.
Hopefully the torpedoes will instead track
Less than
onto
50
that.
feet below the keel.
I'm well aware we're going to basically put the boat on the bottom.
Con, maneuvering.
I'll just leave the
Turn
ballast
for
at 0.
knots.
The one thing about being on the bottom, though, we can't really fast forward time. But that's okay. We'll go ahead, set this torpedo to active in a moment.
Con, fire control. Weapon acquired.
Weapon has acquired Romeo 1, or Sierra 1, designated as a Romeo. You can see the torpedoes are passing over, but it looks like
Torpedo room, tube 4
our
ready.
bet to pass under them is succeeding, at least for the moment. If we would have been detected, I imagine that would have been the pass. Because I think now we're too far
Con,
underneath
sonar,
them.
lost contact. Sierra 1. Last bearing 0, 0, 7. Contact breaking up.
And with that, the enemy Romeo has been sunk. We'll replenish Tube 1 with another Mark 48. Let the other torpedoes pass overhead. I think we're probably past them. We'll go ahead and set depth at 550 feet.
Make depth 550 feet. Dive high.
Get us up off the bottom. Because the enemy torpedoes are past us now.
Con, dive at 550 feet. Dive high.
We'll just let the torpedoes run until they eventually burn themselves out. The Moss will also continue off our right side. And with that, we should be good to leave combat. So, this was not our target, which means we need to keep heading into Arkhangelsk, which I think we finally have. Yes, mission deployment zone is nearby. Our orders, sir, we're going to close to 20,000 yards again. All hands man battle stations.
Sonar, lost contact.
And we're immediately going to,
Make turns for 0 knots. Maneuvering aye.
yep, make turns for 0 knots. Now here's the worst part of
Turns
this.
for 0 knots. Maneuvering aye.
We can only fire 4 missiles at a time.
Con, sonar, new contact bearing 2, 5.
Due
6.
to the fact that we
Designated
only have
Sierra
4
2.
tubes to use. Which means we'll have to do an entire reload to
Con,
fire
sonar,
off
new
all
contact
8
bearing
missiles.
0, 9, 6. Designated Sierra
And we
3.
can kind of cheat and see that the enemy does have a helicopter out and about. It's doing a maritime patrol. Oh, excuse me. No planes or anything though, which is good. So what I do prefer sometimes to do in these
Con, sonar,
situations
new contact
is actually
bearing
find
3,
all these
2,
vessels
6.
out here
Designated Sierra
and
4.
sink them essentially, so they can't fire countermeasures or anything like that at us. And that way, all we have to contend with is the helicopter, which makes things not easy, but easier, because if we're only dealing with one
Con, sonar, Sierra 1 is
helicopter,
classified as
that's a lot
emergent.
easier. This could also be a
Con,
trawler,
sonar,
actually.
Sierra 1 is classified as merchant.
This may... Oh, I actually don't know what that is. That's not quite right. No, I think this is another surface vessel. based on the propeller noise. Just having to look through things.
Con sonar.
This is actually
Sierra
probably
3
another merchant.
Is classified as merchant.
No. Yep. Nope, nope. That's not quite right either. This way may well be an actual enemy vessel. Things just don't quite line up.
Con, torpedo room, tube 4 ready.
For Sierra 4, we'll have to see what lines up here. Again, these two lines on the left are primarily what we're going to be looking for, and if you don't know what exactly I'm doing, I am basically lining up the signature lines on the top of the signature lines on the bottom and looking for a match. That's not quite right. I think this was actually because that line's a little bit to the right, so I think that this is actually going to be, we passed it. I think this is going to be Poltava.
Is classified as merchant.
And let's see what this is. That looks like a Dubna, but I think there's a merchant vessel with the same signature. No, there's not. Alright. So we'll go ahead and confirm these to see if these are indeed what we think they are. That is indeed. That actually makes for a very tempting target. A target we will shoot at.
Shoot tube 4. Aye, sir.
I'm actually surprised there are no other warships out here. Normally there's a couple of at least escorting vessels out here.
Con, fire control, weapon acquired.
Tube 4 will go up. We'll reacquire it. No reason to go active. We'll want to keep passive. Merchant vessels don't have active countermeasures. It is indeed a Dubna, but our torpedo is homing in. I don't think the vessel's seen it, especially with it being the dead of night. Torpedo's heading in though, and impact.
Sonar lost contact. Sierra 3, last bearing 129. Contact breaking up.
It's an enemy surface vessel, merchant surface vessel, going down to the bottom.
Con,
We do have another torpedo. This time we'll shoot the torpedo bearing 228 to find this Dubna.
4. Aye, sir.
We're also going to reload tube 1 with a torpedo to take out this Poltava.
Con, torpedo room, tube 1 ready.
We haven't quite got a guaranteed fix on its location, but we are going to let tube 4 run for now. Once we get the full location on the Poltava is when we will then start to, or get tube 1 to fire at it. But it's taking the sonar a while to do that. That Dubna might actually be out of range for our torpedoes, but the Poltava definitely isn't. We do have 2 sonar indicators I also saw. But we'll go ahead and fire this torpedo. Fire tube 1 bearing 349.
Shoot tube 1. Aye, sir.
Tube 4, I just don't, it's not going to have the range. The Dubna is simply too far away, which means the torpedo will explode before time is up. Which is unfortunate. But we should be able to get the Poltava. Actually, we're going to go ahead and cut tube 4 and reload it with a Tomahawk land attack missile.
Con, fire control, weapon acquired.
Torpedo looped around to gain some height and impact.
Con, sonar lost contact. Sierra 4, last bearing 345. Contact breaking up.
And that's 2 more merchant vessels to the bottom. We can go ahead and try to see if we can launch missiles, but I want to say, yeah, we can't fire below 200 feet. So here's what we will do.
Con, torpedo room, tube 1 ready.
What we're going to do is set depth to 200 feet.
Make depth 200 feet, dive by.
And we're going to set course bearing 294.
Helm right 294. Helm aye.
We're also going to make turns for 5 knots.
Make turns for 5 knots. Maneuvering aye.
Just to keep us moving through the water. We have no duct, unfortunately. But now that we are at 200 feet, we're going to launch our first batch of tomahawks.
Shoot 2-1, aye sir. Shoot 2-2, aye sir. Shoot 2-3, aye sir.
And now we're immediately going to reload the other 4. And immediately set depth back down to 550 feet.
Make depth 550 feet, dive by. Con, torpedo room, tube 1 ready.
Con sonar lost contact.
And 550 is a
Sierra
little
1,
deep, so we'll
last
do
bearing.
500.
Make depth 500 feet, dive by.
We'll need a Moss for the torpedo.
Con sonar. Torpedo in the water. Torpedo in the water. Bearing.
We'll go ahead
3,
and decoy
4,
it.
7.
We need that Moss loaded ASAP.
Con,
We'll
torpedo
fire
room,
it off
tube
to the
3
right,
ready.
Shoot 2-3,
towards the Poltava,
aye sir.
and we're gonna go ahead and start
Con sonar
gaining
lost
altitude.
500 feet.
Because I don't want to get in that thing's way.
Flooding in the machinery
And we've been hit by it even though it
space. Damage control party. Lay to the machinery space.
wanted to go to the...
Passing 400 feet.
Even though it wanted to go for this Moss over here, we've still been hit by it, which
Con,
isn't
torpedo
great.
room, tube 4 ready.
We'll set depth for 150
300
feet.
feet.
The
On.
planes are now
Planes
repaired.
repaired.
We're not going to be able to repair the rudder or the towed array, but we do have our second set of missiles, which we will
Shoot
fire.
2-1, aye sir. Shoot 2-2, aye sir. Shoot 2-4, aye sir.
Then immediately reload Moss, and then torpedoes, because that's all we have left. We'll set depth down to 250
Make depth
feet.
250 feet, dive by. Con, torpedo room, tube 1. Con, dive at 250 feet, dive by. Con, torpedo room, tube 2 ready.
We'll go ahead and see our missiles are still in flight. I don't know if all 8 of them are, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So all 8 of them are still in flight. We'll go ahead and go back to the first one, which should be the closest, and we'll monitor the mini-map for more signs that we've been detected. But for now, you can see that these missiles are actually cruising in now over land, probably over this bit of land right here, and are going to unfortunately look like they're impacting the hill instead of the target, which is not great. These missiles are still traveling through the air. My guess is that these are going to hit the hill too. Yeah, I think you can kind of see it out there. I'm not entirely sure though. Yeah, these are going to hit land too. Oh no, these are actually going to hit the port. So I'll actually get to see some port facility strikes. It's like this one's going, oh, it's going to loop around. They actually do this to gain some altitude before settling down and impacting. And it looks like we're now going for some kind of naval headquarters building. Or, nope. No, that's right. Yep. And impact. Missile 1 impact. Missile 2 impact. Should have 2 more. Missile 3 impact. Not seeing Missile 4 though, and it looks like it may have hit terrain. But anyways, we do have aircraft nearby. We have completed the land strike objective. So for now, we're just going to rig for ultra quiet and just continue along, basically. I don't see the enemy aircraft above us, but it says it's there. I am tempted to go a little bit deeper. We'll go down to 300 feet.
300 feet, dive by. Con, dive at 300 feet, dive by.
Alright, and the aircraft's away, so we will escape. You can see there's actually was a bunch of escort vessels out there that we didn't detect. Well done on the successful land attack mission. Satellite photos indicate extensive damage was sustained by the target. Await new orders. And the Secretary of the Navy takes pleasure in awarding the Legion of Merit Medal to Commander Tobias Smith, Commanding Officer, USS Buffalo, SSN 715, for exceptional and consistently outstanding service as Commanding Officer through numerous patrols during a time of war. His leadership and tactical skills ensured success in his numerous duties and reflect great credit upon himself and the United States Naval Service. New news story, the 29th of December 1984, Arkhangelsk hit. Military installations in and around Arkhangelsk, Soviet Union, have suffered extensive damage in what witnesses have called a massive attack conducted by NATO. Numerous fires kept burning throughout the night and seem yet not to have been brought under control. Spokesmen from the Soviet Union have cried out, accusing NATO leadership and officers of war crimes and other atrocities against civilian populations in the wake of recent attacks. Denying such claims, the Pentagon issued a dismissive statement calling the accusations nothing more than Soviet propaganda. When I hit this continue button, it'll drop us back in the map, and I'm immediately going to head north because I want to get out of this. Oh, nope. We do have this brief for our next mission, which enemy ballistic missile submarines are being ready to sail from Grimika in the next few days and will likely attempt to transit beneath the polar ice cap, after which they will be free to strike North American targets. We're to infiltrate the northern bastion, intercept and destroy them. If you fail, you may not have a home base to return to. Be advised, enemy ballistic missile submarines likely escorted by one or more attack submarines and surface forces. We will hit continue. But I think this is where we'll go ahead and end it for today. It has been about 30 minutes. So thank you so much for watching. Please make sure you click a like if you like the video. Subscribe if you want to see more videos in the future. Hit the notification bell if you want to be notified when the next video comes out. Leave a comment down below with what you liked or with what you didn't like. I'm always looking to make improvements. I hope you have a nice rest of your day, and bye-bye.